Hello, today we're going to pick up with the lymphatic system, but we're going to go into the defense and protection system. This is your immune system, okay? And so we have some objectives, okay? So we're going to look at the importance of the defense and protection system, medicinal herbs that impact the defense and protection system, and then we're going to look at key safety information to ensure the defense and protection system remains healthy. So let's dive right in. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the importance of the defense and protection system. And we're looking at specifically in the Hebrew culture. In the Hebrew culture, which represents those who have passed over from living according to the flesh to living according to the spirit, the alignment of life with the commandments, laws, and statutes given by JEHOVAH is paramount. This alignment is directly tied to obedience, which is the cornerstone of maintaining spiritual purity and integrity in both physical and spiritual aspects of life. JEHOVAH's laws not only provide a path for righteousness, but also establish a divine system of defense and protection, both physically as a means to combat infections and diseases, and spiritually as a similitude for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This divine defense mechanism serves as a shield for the soul, rooted in faith and discernment. Much like wisdom itself is a life-giving force. The scriptures firmly establish that JEHOVAH's wisdom and knowledge are the ultimate sources of protection for his people. As stated in Psalms 89 and 18, "For the Lord, the Spirit of God, is our defense, and the Holy One," that's the separated one of Israel, "is our King." This defense is not limited to the physical realm. It extends deeply into the spiritual. And I'm going to reference Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 34 and 16, which reinforces this statement by stating, "For the eyes, the understandings of the Lord are upon them that love, promise him. He is their mighty protection and strong stay, a defense from heat and a cover from the sun at noon, a preservation from stumbling and an help from falling." So here, JEHOVAH's watchful care and divine wisdom provide comprehensive protection, whether it be from physical threats or the spiritual dangers of ignorance and false knowledge. And so again, remembering, much like wisdom itself is a life-giving force, and this provides fortification, a shield, purity, this is spiritual purity, spiritual integrity, and strength. This defense and protection system, much like wisdom itself, is a life-giving force. So as we understand the protection and defense system, both in the physical and spiritual life, we have to remember that it is inherently tied to JEHOVAH's wisdom. And I'm going to reference Ecclesiastes 7 and 12, which explains that wisdom giveth life to them that have it, emphasizing that the life-giving force of wisdom acts as a safeguard for those who adhere to it. So this duality, where physical protection mirrors spiritual wisdom, demonstrates how JEHOVAH's design of the immune system serves not just as a biological defense, but as a spiritual analogy for the protection that comes from living in accordance with his commandments, statutes, and laws. Just as the body's immune system works to protect against physical invasions, such as pathogens and diseases, so too does JEHOVAH's wisdom protect the mind and soul from spiritual invaders. And invaders, we are looking at those that bring confusion, false teachings, which are lies are embedded within them, and temptation. This divine discernment equips followers of Christ with the ability to recognize and combat such invaders, whether they appear in the form of physical afflictions or spiritual deceptions. Wisdom, much like faith in Jehovah, becomes a shield, as described in Proverbs 30:5. Every word of God is pure. He is a shield unto them that put their trust in him. Okay, so now we are going to look at the application of the understanding of the importance of the defense and protection system in the Hebrew culture. And I want you to just remember about Jehovah's divine wisdom and how it provides comprehensive protection. And this is whether you're looking at physical threats, as I mentioned, or spiritual dangers of ignorance and false knowledge. I want to take a moment to gain some understanding about invaders. So invaders, and we're going to look at some similitudes here. Pathogens such as viruses, bacteria, and diseases such as cancer-causing agents, likened to false information, confusion, and temptation. And when these are entered into the body, we're looking at both physical and spiritual, and left untreated, this leads to destruction. So we are going to look at disease, sickness, and illness due to the lack of wisdom, and how without wisdom, which is a life-giving force, we find ourselves stricken with diseases, sicknesses, and various types of illnesses. The application of the understanding of the importance of the defense and protection system in the Hebrew culture. And we're going to look at disease and sickness. Curses from the lack of protection and wisdom, Jehovah's wisdom. The absence of protection and defense, representing the lack of wisdom, leaves the physical and spiritual body open, susceptible, and vulnerable to disease and sickness, which when left untreated leads to destruction. This understanding is illustrated in Deuteronomy 28:15, which states, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his, Jehovah's, commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses, afflictions, and plagues shall come upon thee and overtake thee." Examples of these curses can be found in Deuteronomy 28:16-67. The reason for the curse is disobedience. And due to trusting in man, Jeremiah 17:5 states, "Thus saith the Lord, the Spirit of God, cursed be the man, male or female, that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, his strength, and whose heart desire departeth from the Spirit of God." Therefore, this rebellion and disobedience of not relying solely on the wisdom of Jehovah causes serious consequences that lead to death. This is further reiterated in Deuteronomy 28:20. "The Lord, the Spirit of God, shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand power unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me." And you can reference Jeremiah 2:13 to understand what we have forsaken. His protection and defense, his wisdom as our strength, our protection and defense. This deep root of sin and rebellion results in plagues that lead to death, both physically, as we can see when people die from different types of diseases that are untreated, and spiritually, death symbolizes eternal separation from God. So we can see the connection between the lack of wisdom of Jehovah and the development of disease and sicknesses of the mind. We can see this described in Isaiah 1:5, which states, "Why should ye be stricken?" That's afflicted, plagued, anymore. He's asking a question. "Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. In this passage, the head represents the mind and the heart represents the desires. JEHOVAH reminds us that when the mind and desires lack JEHOVAH's protective wisdom, both the physical and spiritual body is sick. As followers of Christ, obedience and keeping JEHOVAH's statutes and judgments being his doctrines and teachings, this is our wisdom. JEHOVAH states in Deuteronomy 4:6, A and B, "Keep, therefore, and do them, the statutes and judgments, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations." This wisdom and understanding serves as our defense and protection. JEHOVAH's word is a vital, life-giving source of wisdom, which his people, Hebrews, the ones who passed over from living according to the flesh to living according to the Spirit, are instructed to not go aside, as stated in Deuteronomy 28:14. "And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods." This is a little g, false guides, idols, to serve them. This is not just a command to follow, but guiding wisdom that offers protection and defense for both the body and the soul. The protection that JEHOVAH provides is holistic, addressing both the body and the soul. The scriptures frequently highlight the importance of maintaining balance between physical health and spiritual purity. Just as physical defense mechanisms are crucial for survival, so too is spiritual wisdom for safeguarding the soul. The knowledge imparted through JEHOVAH's commandments serves as both a warning and a guide, enabling followers of Christ to navigate the complexities of life without stumbling into the traps of sin and unrighteousness. And so I want to give you an example that many of us are familiar with, okay? And it's a tiny example. And then I'm going to give you some more deeper examples. But I want you to think about some just common diseases or issues that your body develops and how they are made known to you when, say, like you look in the mirror or something like that. So I'm going to take the tiniest, most example that I could think of that has to do with something as simple as a pimple. Okay, so I want you to think about if any of you have ever had a pimple or you've seen a pimple on someone's face, perhaps. Okay, so one thing you want to think about is, as you're thinking about this pimple, is how would you try to combat this issue? Okay, so I'm going to put some choices up here and I want you to just look at them and just think, like, which would you choose to combat this pimple? All right. Okay, so most of us are going to try and get rid of that thing as fast as we possibly can. Okay, and we're going to try and treat it superficially. Okay, not recognizing that it's actually showing you something on the outside and it's connected to an inside issue. All right, so a lot of times pimples, you have inflammation, you have redness, swelling, pus, blood. It depends on how it appears, but we know that there is a root cause to that tiny little thing that is such an irritant on your face. However, a lot of us will apply topical treatments, things on top of it to try and get rid of it, not thinking about the deeper issue that it's showing us. So a lot of times it can be an infection, an infestation of bacteria. It could be some type of clog or dirt. Okay, it could even be poor eating habits that's making itself known unto you. But you see those consequences of whatever is going on, and your body's immune response is taking place, and it has actually caused the formation of that pimple. Okay? The application and understanding of impurities and purification for maintaining health, healing, and integrity of the body. So just as the body's immune system works to protect against physical invasions, as we've discussed, such as those pathogens and diseases, so too does Jehovah's wisdom protect the mind and soul from those spiritual invaders, and we drew those similitudes, which is confusion, false teachings, and temptation. And as I mentioned, this divine discernment equips followers of Christ with the ability to recognize and combat such invaders, whether they appear in the form of physical afflictions or spiritual deceptions. Wisdom, much like faith in Jehovah, becomes a shield. As I described in Proverbs 30:5, every word of God is pure. He is a shield unto them that put their trust in him. So this defense and protection system is not passive. It requires active engagement through obedience to Jehovah's laws. It is through obedience that the followers of Christ fortify themselves with divine wisdom, which functions as a spiritual immune system, continually working to maintain purity and righteousness, even of the smallest of impurities. This is further evidence in Isaiah 33:6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear, the desire of the Lord, the Spirit of God, is his treasure. Stability, strength, and salvation all flow from wisdom and knowledge of Jehovah, much like how the immune system provides the stability necessary for physical health. Ultimately, the alignment with Jehovah's commandments is both a physical and spiritual safeguard. Through his wisdom, followers of Christ are granted the discernment necessary to combat not only physical afflictions, but also the spiritual threats that seek to disrupt their walk with Jehovah. In understanding the intricacies of this defense system, we see that Jehovah's design is not merely functional, but symbolic. His wisdom is the source of all life. His commandments as the foundation of our protection, and his discernment as the key to living a pure and righteous life, both physically and spiritually. So now I want to get into devices of man and how these devices and inventions created by man-made devices are no offer of defense and protection. So they don't offer you defense and protection. In fact, it leaves the body open to disease, sickness, and illness. Furthermore, it actually manipulates, alters, weakens, and destroys your natural immunity. So I just want to get into some of those man-made devices and inventions, and let's take a look at those. Okay, so we're going to look at man-made devices and inventions, and these offer no protection and defense. And we are going to take a look at suppression, and we're going to look at symptom suppression and the impact on the protection and defense system. So symptom suppression offers superficial solutions, temporary fixes. They are vain and empty solutions. There's no lasting benefit. And these are oftentimes found in the infection, allergy, and drug medication products. And these ingredients that they have are geared towards symptomatic suppression. So we're going to look at the cough, cold, flu, and allergy industry, which has a system approach towards how these products even make it into your body for you to consume. Okay, so the pathway is such that the product is developed. Okay, you may be prescribed this product by a doctor or hospital physician. You go to the pharmacy. This can be an online pharmacy or in-person retail pharmacy, and then you pick up the product and you consume the product. And it's based on the symptoms that you were presenting with. So the cough medicine industry is part of a broader, larger treatment market, which is called the cough, cold, and flu treatment market. And it is heavily consumer driven. So I just want you to understand that underlying driver behind this industry, okay? And it's quite large and profitable. In the US alone, the market for over-the-counter cough and cold remedies is valued in the billions of dollars. And so globally, the market for cough and cold medicine is between $34 and $38 billion. And these are based on approximations from 2023. And it's projected to continue to grow, as I mentioned, because of the increased demand, and particularly when you hit particular seasonal demands, which is your flu season and your pandemic seasons. All right, so that's the global market. The US market accounts for $10 to $15 billion of that total global market, with over-the-counter cough, cold, and flu products making up the majority of that revenue. Then you look at prescription drug medicines. So these have to be prescribed by a physician or a clinician, and you have this particular segment. It's a smaller part of the cough, cold, and flu treatment market, but it also contributes significantly because of the high prices associated with prescription cough medicines, all right? And then you have the behind-the-counter medicine. So these tend to be heavily regulated products that are geared towards cough and cold symptoms, all right? So I just wanted to do a high-level overview of the cough medicine industry, helping you to understand that it is large, it is profitable, it is driven by consumer demand, and it encapsulates, or the cough medicine treatment market is part of the broader cough, cold, and flu treatment market, okay? Symptomatic suppressors, they offer no benefits to the protection and defense system. They do not lead to any healing and long-lasting benefits. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about cough. So coughing has a purpose, all right? It's a natural reflex, and it allows you to clear your throat. It offers protection from different types of irritants. So when you cough, you can expel or get rid of irritants, pollutants, as well as mucus. And you do tend to have to use a lot of different muscles in your abdomen, your rib, your windpipe. So it's a lot of your body system, muscles and things that are involved in the process of coughing. And most of you know you can have a wet cough, which a lot of people know these as productive coughs. So you have a tendency to cough and there's mucus or phlegm. Then you can have a dry cough, and some people will call these a non-productive cough where there's no mucus or phlegm. Okay, and so coughs can also be associated with allergy, asthma, or infection. And your infection can be viral or bacterial, and your cough can be due to some type of upper respiratory issue that you might be having related to various factors. All right, so coughing is a natural reflex. So now we're going to get into some common drug medication ingredients that act as symptomatic suppressors. And we'll just go one at a time. So dextromethorphan, that's a cough suppressant. Guaifenesin, which is an expectorant, simply means that it acts on thinning mucus. Aspirin or ibuprofen, acetaminophen, codeine, and codeine is also used to treat both pain and coughing. Then you have pseudoephedrine, and then you have phenylephrine. And these are typically used to suppress sinus pressure and nasal congestion. Then you have brompheniramine, which is an antihistamine and decongestant. Then you have loratadine, which is a suppressor of sneezing, runny nose, itching, like your eyes, and hives. Then you have cetirizine hydrochloride, which is an antihistamine, so it falls into that category of suppressing sneezing, runny nose, itchy eyes, and symptoms of that sort. All right, so now we are going to just get into understanding that all of these are symptomatic suppressors and they do not lead to healing. And so now I want to go and focus on one particular man-made conventional medication ingredient, and it was on that list, and it's a cough suppressant, okay? And so what the focus is on is that it doesn't treat the underlying issue. However, it causes extremely severe and harmful side effects to the body, including death. And so dextromethorphan is one of the top cough suppressant ingredients. All right, it can be abbreviated as DXM or DM. It can also be coupled with HBr, hydrobromide. And just a quick note, if you see HBr, that's added to medication so that it can actually be absorbed and digested into your body. So I just want to make sure, in case anyone is not familiar with that particular ingredient. So dextromethorphan was first introduced in 1958 as the first non-opioid cough suppressant, and it's indicated, which means it's used for multiple psychiatric disorders. And I just want you to hold on to that thought and keep that in the back of your mind as we go through. Okay, so I'm just going to run through some facts about dextromethorphan. The active ingredient DXM, dextromethorphan, as I mentioned, it is the sole active ingredient in several cough suppressants, and it doesn't matter if it's a brand name or generic name cough medication. It's the ingredient that you want to look for and pay attention to. All right, it's readily accessible, and it's also listed on, which I find interesting, and most of you may or may not know this, but it's listed on the Drug Enforcement Administration list as a highly abused drug product. However, it's very accessible, and most of the time, younger individuals are those that are widely abusing this particular products with this particular ingredient. It acts two different ways, okay? It can act as an antagonist, meaning it's going to block or slow a response. It's going to also act as an agonist, which means it's going to mimic a natural response. And the goal is that this product is going to suppress cough, okay? It's not going to treat the underlying illness. Like, say, if you have a viral bacterial infection that's causing your cough, it's not going to treat that underlying issue. It's just going to suppress the cough. All right. And so I just wanted to go through that so that you can see a particular ingredient that's used. And this drug medication, it's offered, and individuals consume it, take it into their body, and it can come in various forms. Okay. But most of these medications will come in the form of syrups, which you can take, drink by spoon, tablets. You also have certain types of products that come as creams, inhalers, and injections, all right? And so what I want you to pay attention to is the fact that they have active and inactive ingredients that cause the body harm. And these ingredients are developed to target a symptom. They are not developed to target the underlying invader or issue. So I just want to make sure you can see that and understand that piece. Okay, so now we're going to look at some of the severe adverse events from dextromethorphan. It can cause nausea, vomiting, neurological and psychological harm, including perceptual disturbances, as I just previously mentioned, hallucination. And so hallucination simply means you see something and you think it's there, but it's not really there, or you don't see something that is there, and that can result in bad error, making incorrect choices, and that can actually lead to death. Okay. Also, it can cause eye spasms, twitch, or flexing rapidly and uncontrollably of your eyes. And there is a set severe intoxication adverse event list that I wanted to focus on here. So dextromethorphan, which is an ingredient in common cough medications, can cause drunkenness, drowsiness, and the individual to fall into what's called a dead sleep. Okay, so hopefully you have some understanding of these symptomatic suppressors that are used, and they're targeting symptoms and not treating the underlying illness or infection, and they are causing detrimental, harmful effects to the body. When applying this understanding to modern medicinal drugs, in this case we're focused on cold, cough, drug medication, and ingredients, we must ask, are we receiving a source of life-giving protection and defense that provide true immunity and healing? Or are we partaking in ineffective wicked imaginations, and deceit that suppress and cause harm. And I want to reference Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach 37:3, which states, O wicked imagination, whence camest thou in to cover the earth with deceit? ? There are numerous drug medications taken by individuals every day, and they are essentially ineffective. For example, one drug medication ingredient known as phenylephrine, which is an active ingredient in a variety of over-the-counter cold and cough medications. This ingredient was approved for use in 1976 for nasal decongestion, and it has recently been shown to be an ineffective ingredient. So it has been used for decades now. Drugs are often presented as beneficial, however, are ineffective and harmful to the body. And so we're going to look at some of the usage and risk associated with phenylephrine. Okay, so as I mentioned, this was approved by the FDA in 1976. It's used in both children and adult cold and cough drug medication, and it is marketed as a nasal decongestant, as I mentioned, and it acts on the blood vessels. Side effects include dizziness, severe dizziness, increased heart rate, mood changes, confusion, hallucinations, tremors, seizures, including convulsions, fever, sweating, dangerously high blood pressure, feeling nervous, restless, irritable, or anxious, and the development of sleeping problems, including insomnia. So this is just a brief list of the side effects. There are more, but I just wanted to hit these major ones. So we now know that since 1976 up into 2024, it has been revealed that false information and deceit is actually embedded in this particular ingredient, and individuals have taken this into their body and it has caused harm. And some of the more severe, serious side effects from phenylephrine include chest pain, which is categorized as a serious side effect, and severe allergic reactions that can occur within the face and the throat, and this requires immediate medical attention. And so these are ways that man has disrupted the natural immune process, all right? So none of those ingredients actually help your immune system to fight the infection, and it does not enhance or strengthen your protection and defense system. And these product ingredients are 100% contrary to what the Creator has made. And so I'm just going to reference Ecclesiasticus 38:4, which states, "The Lord hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor, will not hate them." However, we see that this is happening. And so not only is this hateful, but again, this goes back to sin and rebellion, arrogance, pride, and lack of faith and trust in what the Lord has created out of the earth for healing and holistic wellness and health of the body. And I want to reference Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach 10:13. And I want to focus on the first part of the scripture. "For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination. And therefore the Lord, the Creator, brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly." So I want to talk about trusting in the things created according to JEHOVAH rather than man-made inventions. Honey, as comparing like unto the sweetness from Jehovah's wisdom. This pleasant source of nourishment comes with vast health benefits to the body and soul. This characteristic of Jehovah's wisdom as sweetness is emphasized in Ezekiel 3:3, which states, "And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat to learn of, and fill thy bowels with this roll, this wisdom from the Father, the Creator, that I give thee. Then did I eat, learn of it, and it was in my mouth, my speech, as comparing honey for sweetness." In this scripture, this roll represents the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from the Creator. His word, Christ, JEHOVAH, which reveals things which are pleasing to God. This understanding is further shown in Baruch 4:4. "O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to God are made known unto us." Who? Hebrews, the ones that have passed over from living according to the flesh to living according to the spirit. The sweetness of Jehovah's wisdom offers not just a rich source of nourishment, but also, as cited in Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 34:17c and d, this provides the gift of health and life. This is the direct result of Jehovah's comprehensive defense and protection system of the Creator. And so I want to get into some aspects of honey as a symbol of sweetness from Jehovah's wisdom, providing nourishment and also vast benefits to the body. So honey, as most of us already know, it originates from a flower source. The raw material for honey is nectar and pollen. It is the chief fruit from bees. And so I want to also reference Sirach, Ecclesiasticus 11:3. The bee is little among such as fly, but however, her fruit, her work is the chief of sweet things. So as you have bees, we can see that they are doers. They are doers of work. They are constantly putting in labor, much like the spirit of wisdom, JEHOVAH. And I want to reference Sirach, Ecclesiasticus 24:34. Behold, that I have not labored for myself only, but for all them that seek, that diligently search wisdom. The scripture states in James 1:25c through e, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man, male or female, shall be blessed, given wisdom in his deed, his work. We can see this natural process where this active yet obedient participation provides a significant source of protection and defense to the thoughts and desires of Hebrews, those who have passed over from flesh unto living according to the spirit. So, as I mentioned, honey originates from a floral source. The raw source of honey is nectar and pollen, and it is the chief fruit from bees. So the floral source plays a significant role in determining the antioxidant capacity, so this defensive capacity of the honey, meaning the nectar, which is the raw source material. This nectar is flower dependent, and bees are constantly at work in this conversion process. Honey's variety. So there are hundreds of types of honey due to the variety of flowering plants, and this is your fruit-bearing plants as well, because they have flowers that blossom, and it's also dependent on the climate, the ecosystem that varies, and you have bee varieties. So depending on the bee species and the behavior of the bee, all of these play a role in the comprehensive variations across different types of honey. And of course, there's undiscovered explorations, which leaves yet to be revealed sources of honey. And so I want to talk a little bit about the floral source of honey. So you have two sources. You have a monofloral, which, as it indicates, it's honey that's derived from one plant species. Examples of these include your honeys like chestnut, clover, lavender, robina, and manuka. And so all of these types of honey are derived from that specific one plant species, okay? And then you have your multifloral honey, which is derived from, as it states, multiple flower species. And this is where you can categorize, say, like your multiflower or your wildflower honey. So now, depending on your source of honey, you can either obtain raw honey or processed honey. And so I want to just go first through the processed honey. So it is processed mainly for convenience and so that it is visually appealing. And so it is subjected to high heat processing, filtration methods, and due to those processing methodologies, it lacks many natural benefits compared to raw honey. And so raw honey is unprocessed. It is the more healthful, beneficial type of honey because it's unfiltered and it's unpasteurized, and therefore it retains the natural compounds, these bioactive enzymes and pollen. All is still retained within this natural honey. And so most of the times when you are looking for honey, You want to make sure if you're going to be using it, say for medicinal purposes, you want to make sure you have raw honey. There are some general benefits to processed honey, but there's no necessarily healthful benefits to processed honey. And then you have the last type of honey, this is a general overview. This is called an infused honey, where it can be combined with herbs and spices, or you combine with fruit extracts or organic flavors. Okay, and I just want to make a quick mention, because I think this is notable, that when I was talking about the raw honey versus the processed honey, I just want to make sure I'm clear. There is no reason to process honey, meaning there's no reason to pasteurize honey, because honey is naturally antimicrobial. So it will last on your shelf without being contaminated, as long as you are careful in your use and your hygiene in terms of how you are dispensing the honey. Otherwise, honey is highly antimicrobial and good to go. Okay, so now I want to get into honey, the benefits, use, and risks. So common benefits among pretty much all honey, all types of honey, is that it's moisturizing, it's soothing, you have anti-inflammatory, antioxidants, and it's antimicrobial. And these are due to special compounds that honey has. And these are phenolic, flavonoids, other bioactives, and enzymes. And so I'm just going to get into a few of them, and not from a highly technical aspect, but just from a general aspect. So phenolics, these compounds are natural chemicals that are found in fruits, flowers, and plants. Okay, they have a ring shape similar to what is a hexagon, and then they have these hydroxyl groups attached to them. So that's how they're identified, and this is also how we can attribute some of the known aspects of the antioxidant components of honey. Okay. Next, we have the flavonoids. And so these are polyphenolic, they're natural plant pigment compounds. They also have a ring structure, and they play a role in the color of flowers, fruits, and some leaves. So these compounds actually protect plants from diseases, pests, and they also are involved in the role of the color, so they attract the pollinators. Okay, and so these are antiviral, antitumoral, and they are anti-inflammatory. They help with allergies, and they are also antibacterial, so they have those properties as well. And so many of these compounds, since I'm going briefly over them, there are a number of them, and there are families and subfamilies, but the whole point is that there's this comprehensive aspect of JEHOVAH's design in terms of the protection and defense system of not just us, but for the plants and the various types of insects and animals that benefit from them. And so some of the other bioactives that are in honey includes, many may already know, but you have a lot of vitamins and enzymes. Vitamin E is a huge known antioxidant, which is in honey, and it's protective of the cells against oxidative damage, and it neutralizes free radicals, which can be caused by various types of illnesses, diseases, just being in an unhealthy state. Okay. And then you have hydrogen peroxide production in honey. And so hydrogen peroxide plays a key role in honey's antibacterial activity. And this is helpful for infections, wound healing, ulcers, burns, and those types of issues. So now we're going to talk about specialty honey. All right, so specialty honey, as I mentioned, these are those monofloral types of honey. So your chestnut, robinia, manuka, clover, and your sunflower. I also mentioned lavender before. And so I want to go into one particular type of monofloral specialty honey that has been used and shown to have strong medicinal properties. And so this is the manuka honey. And so manuka honey is a honey that is found, and it's actually derived only from the manuka flower. Okay, and so it has a very distinct property which leads it to be used for many types of medicinal purposes. Okay, and it is found, so this goes back to the geographical variety of honeys. So it's actually found in New Zealand. So it has a lot of different medicinal properties. And some of the benefits of Manuka honey is the inhibition of bacterial growth. It's anti-cancer, and it is wound healing. So these are attributed to the antioxidant and antimicrobial properties, which I am going to go into just a little bit of detail because I think it's very useful to understand and know. So back to the phenolic compounds. Okay, so these protect plants and they are good for maintaining our health. So they, as I mentioned, act as antioxidants. They neutralize free radicals due to oxidative stress, as I mentioned, from different types of illnesses, stress, just being in an unhealthy state, all right? And so these unhealthy states of the body, and this can be caused by illnesses, diseases, including stress, they cause the formation of toxic byproducts that cause damage and tissue damage and dysfunction. And this can happen during infection, inflammation, and cancer. And so Manuka honey has a higher concentration of phenolic compounds compared to the other types of compounds that it has, and these contribute to its strong antioxidant and antimicrobial properties. And in addition to that, Manuka has high levels of methylglyoxal, which is called MgO, and this directly inhibits bacterial growth. Okay, so I just want to make sure you understand the two main components that this honey, Manuka honey, has. And we're going to talk now about the usage as well as risk. So medicinal use of Manuka. So Manuka has pretty much a rating score, and it's called a unique Manuka factor, a UMF. And it measures the levels of this methylglyoxal. And it will say MgO on the jar, okay? And it will also have UMF, and it will give you a number, okay? So there is mixed information. And the reason I want to be clear about this is because there is mixed data out there and mixed information, and Manuka honey can be very expensive. So this is why I think it's important for you to know this. And you'll have some Manuka honey that has in the upwards of 800, and some will have as low as 5 or 10. However, it's mixed information that has been gathered that shows that it can or cannot depend on the level of this MgO, but it does still have useful medicinal benefits, whether it has a low number or a high number. And so I just want to put that information out there so that you can do your research if you're interested in Manuka honey, because you can end up paying a lot of money for a factored level that's really high when you could have paid less money with something that has a factor level that's a little bit lower, but it's still as effective, okay? And so you want to make sure you're looking at the sourcing as well as the quality. Again, this goes back to making sure you have raw honey. The exact role of each compound isn't fully understood. So if you take each compound in isolation, it's not clearly understood. However, we know that if you take honey as a whole and these compounds have an opportunity to work together, that they seem to enhance the effects of the honey. Consistent use is always good and has more of an impact than if you're inconsistently using this for therapeutic effects. And if you use it consistently for therapeutic use, you'll see a better impact of this Manuka honey. The other thing that I want to mention is the risk associated with the use of honey. So like all honeys, you want to use it in children or individuals older than 1 year of age. Okay, careful consideration should be taken when you are also monitoring your blood glucose levels, and you may have certain conditions where you are doing this. So you don't want to overuse, or you want to be careful in your use of honey, any type of honey. All right, and then for its medicinal use, you want to avoid overuse due to its cytotoxic effects. In the framework of biblical law, the immune system is a symbol of defense and protection. In the Hebrew culture, the wisdom of JEHOVAH provides a powerful source of discernment. As followers of Christ, it is critical to determine between good and evil and life and death. Being able to choose the good and reject the evil leads to spiritual purity and integrity of the mind and body. This strengthens and protects the body against falsities that threaten and destroy both the physical and spiritual body. Understanding of the powerful and quick protective nature of Jehovah's wisdom. This is illustrated in Hebrews 4:12. For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intentions of the heart. In this citation, Jehovah connects the Word of God to a sword, which represents a powerful instrument, a weapon of war, offering protection and defense for the soul and spirit, which is capable of separating thoughts and intentions of the heart that are contrary to the Word of Jehovah. This further shows that Jehovah's protective wisdom goes beyond the mere physical protection of invaders such as viruses, bacteria, and cancers, but also protects the spirit and soul from infestations of false information, which include lies, confusion, and temptation. In the absence of Jehovah's wisdom, we have no protection and defense, which leads to destruction. Why? Because we lack the skill and ability to make healthful choices that lead to healing and wellness. Now I'm going to walk through a documented representation so that you can better understand ways false information, lies, confusion, temptation can manipulate, alter, and destroy the body. This will give us a better understanding of the types of information that disrupt our understanding and moves us further away from the stability of Jehovah's laws. Under the biblical framework of faith and discernment, we're going to focus on the lack of physical protection mirrors the lack of spiritual wisdom. The destruction from the lack of defense and protection, Jehovah's wisdom. In this analysis, the results examined are confusion and false information provided by man, male or female, as part of human studies, and how these serve as invaders by offering lying, empty words, and vain promises rather than true healing, leading to further sickness, illness, and death. So the issue is confusion and false information of man as healing. From 1932 to 1972, for 40 years, the Tuskegee syphilis study was conducted using Black males as subjects, and the study was presented as a source of healing and aid. However, a deeper examination unveils that this, like many human studies going on today, are not designed to cure, but to utilize your body as a resource. This leads to a state of vulnerability and susceptibility, which allows for the injection of invaders similar to false information and confusion. As with spiritual protection and defense, wisdom, when the information you receive is false information, deceptive, or confusing, it leads to harm and does not profit the body or the soul. Jeremiah 7:8 states, "Behold, ye trust in lying words that cannot profit." The path of relying on man's false information, lying words, may seem beneficial at first glance, but there is a necessity of a deeper discernment, because in the end, it lacks health and healing. Much like being injected with an infectious bacterium, virus, or cancer-causing agent and left untreated. The understanding and analysis of the Tuskegee syphilis study involves the elements of trust, faith, and obedience, but towards the lying words of man. So we're going to look at the examination of the invaders. This is the physical bacterial pathogens. So syphilis, we know, is caused by a worm-like bacteria. I want you to hold that thought. The bacteria is known as Treponema pallidum and is known as the king of sexually transmitted diseases. This is what they call this. And it is highly contagious. The infection impacts various parts of the body: your hands, tongue, genitals, skin, eyes, heart, blood vessels, brain and nervous system. The primary hosts may seem obvious. It's people, and they have various disease states. This worm-like bacteria causes sores known as cankers on various parts of the body, and they are extremely painful. Tertiary syphilis is serious, and it occurs actually 10 to 30 years after the original infection began. So that's the examination on that physical side. Now we're going to look at the examination of the invaders spiritually, likened to bacterial pathogens, which include false information, confusion, and temptation. In the context of the Tuskegee syphilis study, the invaders were the deceitful individuals and government agencies that actually conducted the study, and they disseminated lying words coupled with offers of vain and empty promises. So they actually offered the individuals free health care, free transportation to and from hospitals, and free hot lunches, which allowed a path of entry into gaining access to the ultimate resource, which was the actual physical body of hundreds of Black males for their benefit and gain. The victims were lied to about the goal and purpose of the study. It was later revealed that the study was determined to be the effects of untreated syphilis in the Black male, and the purpose, which they did not reveal, but this is the true purpose of the study, was to determine from corpse, the dead bodies of individuals, what syphilis does to the human body. So to ensure the dead body was exchanged, the victims were offered monetary benefits, which included, in addition to what I just explained, this one ensures that they would get access to the dead body. So they offer the benefits of burial, casket, and grave costs. And so I want to reference Jeremiah, first looking at 19:7. And I will make void, empty, desolate, the counsel of Judah and Jerusalem in this place. And I will cause them to fall by the sword before their enemies, and by the hands, the powers of them that seek their lives. And their carcasses will I give to be meat for the fowls of the heaven, and for the beasts of the earth. JEHOVAH states previously in Jeremiah 19:4, because they have forsaken me, in Jeremiah 18:15, because my people have forgotten me. The consequences of misplaced trust, lack of faith, and disobedience to the laws, statutes, and commandments are represented in this study example. Individuals, victims who participated in this study did not seek long-lasting healthful remedies, but rather sought after false information and were taken by confusion of man's words that offered no health and healing of the body. Therefore, they were left weakened, altered, and destroyed due to the lack of JEHOVAH's wisdom. JEHOVAH's laws not only provide a path of righteousness, but also establish a divine system of defense and protection, both physically as a means to combat infections and diseases, and spiritually as a similitude for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Wisdom itself is a life-giving force. Okay, so now we're going to look at medicinal herbs that impact the defense and protection system. And we're going to work through a couple of pieces here. So identify medicinal herbs that impact the defense and protection system. And we're going to look at the understanding of medicinal herbs and their impact on the defense and protection system. And then we're going to break that down so that we understand how to identify characteristics, as well as understanding the long-lasting benefits of medicinal herbs towards the defense and protection system. So many medicinal herbs that offer profound beneficial impacts to the body and soul contain vital components necessary for building and strengthening the stability and integrity of the protection and defense system. Plants, flowers, leaves, and trees all complement the root system, which its growth and strength is dependent upon. And I want to reference Proverbs 8:14. Counsel is mine. So this is Jehovah speaking. And sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. So what we want to look at here are the characteristics of medicinal herbs that strengthen and enhance the defense and protection system. These are medicinal provisions that provide long-lasting benefits, strength, fortification, integrity, and purity of both the physical and spiritual body. The elements that we're going to focus on include strong faith, power. Okay? The law speaks of various plants and herbs used for building a strong defense and protection system. In Ecclesiasticus 38:4, it states, "The Lord, the Creator, hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor, hate them." These medicines were created by God, who is the creator of heaven and the earth. As stated in the law referencing Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And as referenced in Psalms 33:6, by the word of the Lord, the Spirit of God, JEHOVAH, were the heavens made, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth. The established law is that God can protect and defend his creation, both physically and spiritually. By the eternal power, this is the strength and might of the wisdom of JEHOVAH. Medicinal provisions established in accordance to JEHOVAH's wisdom contain foundational yet critical components, such as obedience to JEHOVAH's statutes and faith in his authoritative eternal power. These medicines bring forth a strong protection and defense system. As followers of Christ, it is key to understand that God's creation is under his divine authority. God's laws, statutes, and commandments not only provide guidance, they too also bring forth the desired outcome of deliverance from corrupt thoughts and contrary desires, emphasizing the critical element of faith in the wisdom of JEHOVAH, which is inherent within his medicinal creations. I'm going to reference Hebrews 11:1, which states, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Medicinal herbs that impact the defense and protection system have antimicrobial, anti-cancer, antioxidant properties. These can stimulate the defense and protection system. The antimicrobial activity can directly inhibit the growth of infectious and pathogenic agents. The anti-cancer and antioxidant properties are geared towards enhancing the immune system to stimulate an immune response, which can either be anti-cancer, anti-tumoral, or they can actually enhance the body's own immune system to fight against such ailments. And so I want to go into just a few exemplified examples of the medicinal power of herbs created by JEHOVAH. So oregano is an example of a strong and powerful medicinal herb, aiding in fighting various types of infection. This is one herb that not only has a strong and bitter taste, but it has a distinct smell as well. One key component within oregano is carvacrol. Oregano oil is distilled from flowering tops, Oreganum vulgare, which contains key components such as carvacrol. This compound is highly antiseptic, antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, and antiparasitic. This herb exemplifies the authoritative power of JEHOVAH's wisdom through ensuring benefits such as protection and building a strong immune defense by ensuring elimination of the underlying issue causing common infections. This herb works synergistically with the body and not against the body, ensuring that its use and application is beneficial. And so I want to note that mainstream conventional medicine practices do not highlight the benefits of strong and powerful medicinal herbs such as oregano. It's very rare to even find this particular herb mentioned in more than one or two sentences within the works or the writings of man-made medicinal herbal books. And so it's key for followers of Christ to search diligently those medicinal herbs that have powerful and strong beneficial characteristics and components that strengthen the immune response. And I want to reference 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, my way, shall humble themselves and pray and search diligently my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin, wicked thoughts of the heart, and will heal their land. So here we are commanded to search diligently the glory, the eternal power of JEHOVAH. And this is essential in building a strong defense and protection system. So I want to spend a few minutes to show you the abundance of medicinal herbs that impact the protection and defense system. And I want to use a representation of JEHOVAH's divine presence and eternal power that is clearly shown through his creation. And this goes back to referencing Romans 1:20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So this tangible, visible example of the rainforest as evidence of a spiritual truth that God provides naturally created resources, medicinal herbal solutions that benefit the protection and defense system. So I want to focus on the rainforest just for a few minutes. The rainforest represents an abundance of medicinal resources that can be utilized for the protection and the defense system. However, the majority of the protective and defense benefits of these naturally created resources designed to heal and benefit the body are yet to be discovered through comprehension and understanding of his divine revelation. The living creatures, plants, herbs, and trees themselves, right now today, exist in a more beneficial state when they use his powerful natural creations. Yet people do not seek these natural resources, but rather seek man-made inventions, or man, male or female, seek to actually destroy these resourceful places. Or man, male or female, seeks to exploit their use to develop synthetic, less effective, and more harmful versions. The consequences of not utilizing these natural resourceful benefits, as well as destructive and exploitations, are far-reaching beyond the visible realm. So this representation of the rainforest is evidence, leaving Hebrews, he who passed over, with a significant responsibility to not go after those conventional drug medications for the building of a strong protection and defense system, but rather seek the power of the Spirit of God. And I want to reference Exodus 13:3. And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which ye came out from Egypt, bondage, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand means power, the Spirit of God, the Lord, brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. Therefore, we must not learn of and take part in ways of seeking drug medications as protection and defense. Rather, we are to learn the ways according to the strength of hand, power from the Lord, Christ JEHOVAH. Examples of rainforests that have vital biodiversity as well as resources include Central American rainforest, which is in Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras. The Sumatran rainforest, which is in Indonesia. The Choco-Darien rainforest, Colombia and Ecuador. The Madagascar rainforest. Mekong River Basin, New Guinea rainforest, the Atlantic forest of Brazil, Southeast Asian rainforest of Indonesia and Malaysia, the Congo Basin rainforest, which is located in Central Africa, and of course the Amazon rainforest. So these all serve as significant resources for use in identifying and being able to utilize natural resources created by Jehovah. And so I picked these because based on the research that I have done, these are the most widely destroyed, overexploited rainforests across the world. So now we're going to get into key safety information to ensure the protection and defense system remains healthy. And I'm going to discuss 5 safe ways to ensure the protection and defense system remains healthy. The first one, obey the laws of Jehovah, referencing Deuteronomy 5:33. This ensures living in alignment with the wisdom of Jehovah that's received. Study Jehovah's statutes, laws, and commandments by starting with the first 5 books of Moses. The second, faith as a shield, referencing Proverbs 30:5 and Ephesians 6:16. Wisdom, much like faith in Jehovah, becomes a shield against the fiery darts of the wicked. Number 3, exercise discernment, referencing Hebrews 5:14. Apply the wisdom of Jehovah to discern both good and evil. Discernment is the key to living a pure and righteous life. Number 4, acknowledge the sovereign power of Jehovah, referencing Exodus 13:3 and Genesis 1:1. Consider the works of the hand, the power of salvation of Jehovah, the voice of the Spirit of God. And number 5, seek counsel from Jehovah and the elders, referencing Proverbs 8:14 and Jeremiah 3:15. Search diligently the guidance, wisdom, and understanding of Jehovah as strength. Partake in teachings that are in alignment with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Jehovah. So in conclusion, Jehovah's established legal and spiritual framework, intertwined with the Hebrew culture practice of medicinal herbalism, highlights the essential role of the defense and protection system, both spiritually and physically, for health and wellness. Defense and protection, both in the form of the physical immune system and Jehovah's divine wisdom, a life-giving force, providing comprehensive protection, fortification, a shield, purity, integrity, and strength of the spiritual body. Through obedience to the laws found in the first 5 books of Moses, followers of Christ are called to search diligently Jehovah's defense and protection, ensuring their spiritual and physical health remains safeguarded and aligned with His divine will. The immune system, therefore, is not only a physical means to fight infections and diseases, but a similitude for the divine wisdom and knowledge of Jehovah, providing comprehensive protection as a shield for the soul, rooted in faith, obedience, and discernment. By aligning with Jehovah's laws and understanding the importance of the defense and protection system, individuals ensure they live a pure and righteous life. Their soul is shielded and their body remains healthy, all under the careful watch of Jehovah and in accordance with the divine commandments of Jehovah. So we have gone through the lymphatic and the immune system, and this is part 4, protection, defense, and medicinal herbs. We have gone through the importance of the defense and protection system, some medicinal herbs that impact the defense and protection system, and key safety information to ensure the defense and protection system remains healthy. in the Hebrew culture, and this is directly tied to obedience. So I'm Dr. Fatima Larry, and thank you for listening.